Hey everyone, Luke here with a pretty crazy big battle for you. I got a Battle Royale, 2,500 points, Vampires versus Wood Elves versus Dark Elves. I'm up here on holiday in long Thanksgiving holiday in New Hampshire with my family, and a bunch of friends and family all play Warhammer up here, or newly have started. So I've been playing a bunch of games, but none of them really lended themselves well to battle reports. I was either teaching new players how to play with a couple armies I hadn't tried before, like Tomb Kings, and then one had a pretty old Bretonnian army who's never played before. So I was teaching them how to play. Then we had a couple of weird games where we either didn't get to finish or we were just still teaching other people. None of them really worked for battle reports, or didn't even have time to take notes. But this one was going to be just Vampires and Dark Elves, and the Wood Elf buddy showed up. So we threw down a Battle Royale. We found the rules for them online and kind of augmented them a little bit. So I'll go through them as we get started. In terms of the battlefield, we had a River of Light. The whole thing, even though it's different color rivers, is one River of Light. We don't know that at the time of deployment, though. Then the Wood Elves have brought their forest at the top there. We have Arcane Ruins, a Temple of Skulls, and a Dwarven Brewhouse. To make it interesting, we threw down some objective markers. Those are the down-facing arrows in each of the rivers, kind of by all the deployment zones. We'll be doing the triangle-based deployment, 2 corners and a side. The board is as wide as the table, so not just the green grass. And then the middle is the major objective, try to hold the Temple of Skulls. And then we're not really sure how we're going to score it, but we'll just see what the game looks like at the end, but we know what the objectives are. I have 4 level 1 casters. 3 level 1 casters who all know Invocation of Heck, and then I have a level 2 Death who has Caress and Spirit Leech. Over here, the Wood Elves get to deploy on the long side, and so that's how they deploy. I'll go through them in a minute. Dark Elves are in this corner, and my Vampires are here. So I decided to try a fun list I found online. I knew there was going to be no cannons. The Dwarf player couldn't play, so I decided, you know what, this is like the only time I can put my dang Lord on a Terrorgeist, so I wanted to try it. So I put my Lord up there, and it was a fun list I found, and it gave him the Scabscrath sword. That's the one that gives him the Terrorgeist as well. They call that the Fuss Ro Da, the 2 screams, because he's got the Terrorgeist scream, and now my Lord can scream. So he's up there on the Terrorgeist. I've got right to left 5 Hex Wraiths that I'm proxying with some Cold One Cavalry that are unpainted there. Got some Skeletons with a Necromancer level 1 who can grow the Skeletons beyond starting size as well. I've got 35 Zombies, 2 groups of Wolves, a Horde of Ghouls, and 30 of them. And then 5 Blood Knights. They do not have the 4-up Ward banner to ranged attacks, so they're a little fragile. And then I've got the Vampire, 2 Vampires in with a group of 10 Black Knights. The first Vampire is my BSB. He's my Killy Vampire. He's got Red Fury, level 1, Dragon Helm, Sword of Might. And then my second Vampire is a level 2 in there. It says Lore of Shadow there, but he's Lore of Death, like I said earlier. He's got the Curse book on him as well, so he can get a couple extra spells off. Over here, the Wood Elves brought a group of War Dancers. There is a Lord in there, and I did not know that at the beginning. That was my mistake. Then he's got a group of Glade Guard with a level 2. It says 4. That's a level 2 in there. Then he's got a group of Treekin, some Dryads, a Tree Man. Then he wanted to try the special characters. That's the 2 sisters on the Forest Dragon. Now these 2 sisters have 2 crazy bows. They can shoot at different people, and in order to kill them, you have to kill both sisters in the same round. If you do any wounds, they heal, and if you don't kill the 2 sisters in the same round, they resurrect. Then he's got 2 groups of Dryads. One's behind the dragon there, kind of hard to see. Over here, the Dark Elves brought, let's go in the back. We've got a group of Witch Elves, all frenzied up and mostly naked. We've got some repeater crossbows, group of Harpies, group of Shades out front, scouting up there. Then he's got in the back a big group of Corsairs with his Lord in there. The Lord has 1-up rerollable armor save and always strike first. He's got a Chariot, then a pretty decent-sized group of Executioners. They've got Killing Blow. In theirs is BSB, and I think the BSB has the banner, the Always Strike First banner. Then crossbows in front of them, and then like the 1 painted up caster that he has, all painted up orange to look like Snooky. So Snooky is a level 1 fire mage, in with the group of Spear Elves, and then finally a Hydra. So the way we're going to do this is that we're going to do movement, magic, and shooting for each player, and then at the end of the turn, 1 close combat phase for whoever's in there. And then we'll work out what order they go in based on whose turn it actually is. So we're also going to alternate who gets to go first. So Wood Elves now are first. Next turn will be Dark Elves, then Vampires first. Otherwise, for magic, we're going to do 2d6 for the winds of magic, and then each opponent gets the lesser of the 2 die. That was basically what we decided on ahead of time. We'll see how it works. So the Wood Elves move up, Dryads just pretty much move into the water, find out it's a River of Light, and get Frost Protection cast on them. Over here, the rest of his flank just kind of moves up to either touch the river or move more toward my encroaching undead. Down here, during magic, it's 4 dice to 2 to 2. He casts Tree Singing from the Tree Man, and then again from his Lord, his level 2 caster, and just moves the forest a little bit. We don't really care, so we let it go. During shooting, the twins have their 2 bows, like I was explaining. The first one roots the harpies. It hits and roots them, so they're going to have to do a strength check if they want to move at all. The second one, if it hits, 1 shot, which it does here, you put the small round template over and do strength 3 hits. So it's like the big boom bazooka shot, and it kills, what's that, 7 crossbows. It's crazy. So it's Dark Elves turn 1. After that, the harpies move up and take the hill. The first objective. Everyone else, he's moving his big group of executioners and spears and shades and a hydra towards me, and the rest, the witches, the corsairs, and the chariot are going toward the Wood Elves. Just another view of the same thing, but from the Wood Elves side. During magic, it's 6 dice to 3 to 3. Now he only has 2 spells. He has Power of Darkness to get extra dispel dice. Extra power dice, and Fireball. So I've got 3 dice. He throws a few of them to get an extra casting die, and I try to dispel that because that's about the only thing I can do. I don't, so he ends up getting 10 dice, and he is not bound by the same casting problems, or I guess casting limitations that everyone else has, so he throws 10 dice at the large juiced up fireball on the ghouls. Well, now that I know everyone's spells and they're all pretty inert, I decide, no, this is the thing to use the dispel scroll on, so I dispel it with my scroll. Otherwise, during shooting, his 2 groups, the shades and the crossbows, shoot for my dogs. Over here, it's Vampire turn 1. I have no charges, and all of my guys have the able to march because they started within range of the general. So everyone moves up, as you can see. I moved the dogs out front because he was shooting at him earlier. I want him to keep shooting at him. I want them to be a threat so they take the arrow fire while my cavalry moves into position. Otherwise, I thought about flying my Terrorgeist up and screaming at his Hydra, but then I could easily get countercharged, so I decided to hold off for a little bit. But I can still do that later. That's my plan. This is what the other flank looks like. I move all the guys right up and into the river, and I move my Hex Race up because I'm going to try to magically run through the elves on this side, as the Hex Wraiths are able to do. During magic, it's 4 dice to 2 to 2. I use the curse book. It ends up being Melkoth's, and I decide, well, I'll do movement, and I roll, and I get -1 movement on the Hydra. So it's not going to help very much, but it's probably better than nothing, was my thinking at the time. It took 2 of my dice, so I only have 2 left, so I throw them down on this side and end up healing up. The Wood Elf player failed to dispel. I ended up healing up 11 zombies and 6 skeletons, which was actually pretty awesome. So, there's no combat in round 1. Remember, this would be the time where we have our one big joint combat, so we go to turn 2. And it rotates over to Dark Elves start. The Hydra tries to charge the dog, and if he hits, he's going to overrun. He's obviously going to kill it. Then he's going to overrun right into my ghouls. I'm like, oh no, that's gonna suck. But he fails it. He fails it by 1, the exact amount I debuffed him with Melkoth's. I was laughing my butt off. I've never had it actually, like the curse book, help me that much. Or at least in terms of movement. And I was pretty happy about that. Otherwise, his shades back up so that they can shoot the dogs and don't get charged right away. The harpies fly back from the hill and angle a little bit to protect the chariot. Over here, it's magic phase, and it's 9 dice to 6 to 4. Well, he only has 2 spells. He ends up getting an extra die and does 10 die fireball again. Lands on the ghouls. He only gets 8 hits, and only 2 of them end up wounding. It was irresistible force, so nobody could dispel it, even if they wanted to, and Snooky ends up taking 1 wound from that. So that worked out really, really well for me. During shooting, his crossbows and his shades go right into the dogs, the full group, and kill them. Over here, it's Vampire turn 2. Okay, so I declare a charge on the crossbows with my remaining dog, and they stand and shoot and blow it away. But that's okay, because I didn't want them shooting at the Blood Knights, who I then declare a charge on them with. Now they can't stand and shoot, he elects to flee. And he flees right through his executioners, who pass their panic test. But I said, well, I could leadership test to redirect into the spears, and I could probably make it, but unless I break that big group of spears, which I'm not likely to do, I don't think, I'm going to get flank charged by those killing blow executioners, and I don't want that. And, honestly, it's too long of a charge, I think, for me to be able to get into those executioners, and they'd be alone anyway, so I am going to let the Blood Knights fail and land in the middle, hopefully not in the river. Then I declare a charge of my ghouls. The ghouls, the spears elect to hold, and so that's just going to go off like it shows there. Over here, the skeletons need a long, like a 9 or a 10, to charge the Glade Guard, but I thought it was worth a chance. So this flank is all my chaff anyway, or at least my weak stuff. So I try to charge, and I don't make it. They do a standing shoot and end up killing one. So over here, like I said, I chose not to redirect. The Blood Knights end up where they are. The Black Knights swing around a little bit to help out. Now I've got a pretty formidable cavalry force coming up the middle. Then, now that my ghouls have made it into the spears, and right to the side of that Hydra there, who is not in combat with them, okay, now I can feel pretty good at moving my Terrorgeist up to scream at the Hydra and hopefully just liquefy him in the shooting phase. Another shot at how my Terrorgeist flies up there. Then this just shows my skeletons failed to end up in the river. The zombies, I was going to march them to block the flank, but then I realized I can't march through a river, and I was probably too far away from my caster anyway. So they just sit basically in the middle of the river, but they are still partially blocking a flank. I also moved my Hex Wraiths up to start magically running through guys with their ethereal running throughness. I don't think he's going to charge me, but I don't, at this point, realize he has a Lord of the Magic Weapon. So I'm thinking he's just going to fall back. Because, remember, he hasn't gone in turn 2 yet. It's my movement first. So we'll see what happens there. During Magic, it's 7 dice to 1 to 1. So I'm going to dominate this phase. I feel pretty great about it. First off, I try casting Spirit Leech from my BSB and the Black Knights on his BSB. And he uses his Dispel Scroll. I didn't know if I probably wasn't going to be able to kill her, but if I got a good roll, I might have been able to. Invocation to Heck, I get that off on the left side, and I bring back 3 skeletons and 5 zombies, so that's good. And then finally, Caress of Lanif, I decide my only good target here is the Hydra. Even though I'm going to scream at the Hydra, let's be sure, and I end up putting 1 wound on the Hydra that he can't regen. So that's fantastic. Page 34 here. During shooting, the Sergoy Ghoul King goes first with his sword, screams, does 5 wounds, but he regens 3 of them. So he's only taken 2. He's up to 3 wounds on that Hydra, or he has 2 wounds left, rather. So the Terrorgeist screams, does 5 more wounds, he regens 3 of them. So, liquefies him. Had I not done Caress of Lanif there, I would have not killed that Hydra, and then would have had a Hydra running rampant with whoever he wanted. A weakened one, but still. That's basically it for shooting and magic. So it's Wood Elf's turn 2. The War Dancers do charge a Hex Wraith. I wasn't expecting it, but I knew he'd have combat res. But no, a Hex Wraith should be able to kill some of them. They suck in combat, but not that bad. So we'll see what happens. The Treekins go into the skeletons. They end up getting Foss Protection as they go through the water, and the Dryads go into the zombies, and they end up getting Light of Battle. They all make it in, so that's what it looks like. The Dryads go into the Harpies and end up getting Light of Battle cast on them, and these other Dryads go into the Witch Elves and end up getting Time Warp cast on them, which is like an extra attack and always strike first, I think. So that's going to be fun. The Tree Man moves toward the zombies' flank here, and the Sisters end up taking the hill. During Magic, it's 10 dice to 4 to 4. He casts Tree Singing twice and ends up moving the woods into the river, a little closer to the middle. We just let that go. During shooting, he roots the Corsairs with the General in it, and then he uses his explosive boom shot, but it misses. And then finally, the Dragon's Breath weapon kills 2 Shades, but does not trigger a panic test. Alright, now we go into our first combat phase of the game, and it's a big one. The Hex Wraiths first, they end up having a Lord, and he has a couple magic items. 1, he has a magic weapon, and then 2, he has an ability that he can switch through a couple of different abilities. He can choose them, but he has to alternate. So first off, he gives his group a 4-up ward save for the whole turn, and for the whole unit. So basically, I end up only killing 2 because of those ward saves, which is a tie. He kills 1, but I crumble by 1 because he has a Musician. Over here, skeletons versus the necromancer. He kills every single skeleton, and then the rest crumble. I mean, he kills like half, and then the rest crumble. And basically, that whole group was just destroyed utterly. No rank bonus, which only would have saved a few, but I crumble down to crumble every skeleton but the necromancer, who's standing there like, holy crap, I'm in trouble. Over here, the zombies take quite a few. They also don't get rank bonus because they're in the river. And I think I lost 15, including the crumble, something like that. Over here, the ghouls and the spear elves, I do more wounds to him, but because I don't have any rank bonus, I end up losing combat by 2. The BSB's nearby, so I mitigate one of them and only crumble one guy. Then I pass a leadership test to reform out of horde formation, because even though I won't get ranks, I'm not getting any of the attacks anyway, so that just gives them bigger frontage to charge, and is in the way for me charging around them. Oh yeah, sorry. Dryads versus the Chariot. That's what's next. The Dryads destroy the Harpies, overrun, and hit... I guess it was Dryads versus the Harpies. They destroy the Harpies, overrun into the Chariot. Then the Dryads versus the Witch Elves. Remember, the Dryads have Time Warp. They kill 9 witches. I don't think they get any save. 9 witches die, but they're all frenzied up. Witches fire back, killing 7 skeletons. Not skeletons, killing 7 Dryads. Witches lose, but they stick. So pretty bloody combat. So we go to Vampire turn 3 now. Now it's rotated, so I go first this time. The Black Knights go into the Spear Elves to help the ghouls. I can clip the corner there, but I'll get some, but not a goodly amount. The Terrorgeist and the Blood Knights declare charges on the Executioners, which is a bit dicey, but because they have Killing Blow, and I've just got armor save here. But I figured, you know what, let's do what we were born to do. So the Blood Knights end up getting their charge off, and as they're going through the water, they don't take any dangerous terrain wounds, and they get Speed of Light, which is a scary flippin' sight to see a bunch of Blood Knights with Speed of Light on them. The Terrorgeist charges, doesn't get anything from the water because he's flying, and because I charged the Blood Knights in first, and then the Terrorgeist has to go in that corner, which was kind of by design. Yeah, I've got him out there. He could get charged by those Corsairs, but I'm hoping that I can just make quick work of these guys with the screams and the combats and the super killy lord and all that good stuff. So we'll see what happens. Over here, Black Knights get the charge off and get Speed of Light, but end up losing 3 to dangerous terrain. But still, they're Black Knights with Speed of Light. That's nothing to shake a stick at. Over here, well, this just shows... Yeah, I guess I took this picture because I put that icon by them, by the Blood Knights. Yeah. Just the same picture. During Magic, it's 7 dice to 1 again. I'm dominating another Magic phase. I throw 6 dice at Invocation to Heck on this Necromancer at the long range here. My goal is to have a miscast, to blow up some trees, and to heal back a few of those Hex Wraiths if I can. But I do not get Irresistible Force, and that draws the Dispel Scroll, which is probably okay as well. Wood Elf turn 3. The Wood Elf Tree Man slams in the flank of the zombies and ends up getting Always Strike First, going through the River of Light. The Glade Guard move away here. There's not much they can do. During Magic, he fails to cast Call of the Hunt on the War Dancers, and then basically just uses Tree Singing. Now he's moved the forest into the river and at the base of the hill, and this forest is just cruising, man. It's getting more movement than anyone else on the board. During shooting, he roots the Corsairs, which is good for me, because if the Corsairs can't pass their test, then they can't charge a Terrorgeist. I think they would charge a Terrorgeist. They could maybe try going up the hill, but that's kind of a long charge. But at least it ties them up for a little bit, or possibly ties them up. They can still strength through it if they really want to. Then he casts his boom shot from the other Chicky Boo on the dragon and kills 3 of them, which is not that many, actually. They have the extra armor from their cloak, which ended up saving a couple of their lives. Here we go, Dark Elves turn 3. The last 3 crossbow guys charge into the Dryads here. I think he's going to lose them, but he also gets a little combat res. Not that much else he can do with him anyway. Then his Shades rally. His other crossbows rally, thanks to the BSB nearby, who I have failed to kill. And no magic or shooting for the Dark Elves. Everyone's tied up, and there's no more casters. Or at least there's no more casters who can do anything. So it's combat round 3. First, we have the Black Knights, the Ghouls, and the Spear Elves combat. He challenges, Snooky challenges, and my champion in the Ghouls accepts and just gets pasted. before he can even go. And that, because of where she is, limits my attacks so I don't get any Black Knight kills, or attacks even. You know what? I think I actually killed her. I forget. My notes are bad on this one. Anyway, any point, my attacks are limited on the left, and my ghouls roll really poorly and only kill one. They take about 4 in return, I think. But it ends up being a tie with all the charge. Even it's a tie because of no rank bonus for me. So nobody has to take a check or crumble there at all. Over here, the Blood Knights, the Terrorgeist, the Lord, and the Executioner fight. I have to challenge my Blood Knight Kestelin, who he accepted this Hag Queen BSB. She goes first. She has D3 extra attacks. Always strike first banner. She does 5 wounds, and I fail 2 armor saves at strength 4, and it ends up giving her an overkill on my Blood Knight. My other Blood Knights are initiative 10, remember, so they go next, because, yeah, they end up going next. I kill all but 3, which is pretty fantastic. He fires back because he has always strike first, but always strike last as well, so he goes on his initiative. No rerolls. He gets 1 killing blow, killing an extra Blood Knight. My horses and Terrorgeist between them kill 2, which leaves just 1 elf and 1 BSB. And he fails his roll to stick around, and then the BSB lets him reroll, and he gets insane courage and sticks. And I couldn't flippin' believe it. Now I've got all these points. I got another round at possibly being killed with my Blood Knights, and I got my Terrorgeist and Lord tied up in a combat here. I've successfully passed the requirement now, so my sword isn't going to eat me on my Lord, but now I don't want my Lord in combat unless it's really advantageous. So I'm sweating here a little bit. Over here, Witches and Dryads, they hit at the same time. Each do 5, which kills all the Dryads, and the Witches reform, as you can see here. The Chariot and the Crossbows and the Dryads. Let's see, the Dryads miss, the Archers miss, and the Chariot ends up killing 1 Dryad, and the Dryads hold. Over here, the Necromancer has a Gandalf moment and swings his big staff and bonks a tree on the head, doing 1 wound, and then promptly takes about 100 in return. And this is what remains of the zombies. None of them. The zombies are all killed, and actually they're not all killed. They crumble, and they're not that they would want to, but you can't. The tree man couldn't overrun, so they just both reform in the water. Yeah, well, they did. Over here, the Hex Wraith. Since they can't use a 4+ ward save this ability, having to alternate, he gets +1 attack on his lords. He gets 2 kills before I can go, but I end up landing 1 wound on him and lose combat by 1 and crumble the last Hex Wraith away. Sadly, I totally wasted those guys. Probably should have asked what was in that unit before I assumed that he wasn't going to charge. Down here, this is what the left flank looks like at the end of the turn, and here's what the right flank looks like. So we go to Wood Elf turn 4. Now it's come all the way around again. Wood Elves get to start again. He just marches everyone who can march and moves. Goes through the river. Everyone who goes through the river gets Speed of Light. During Magic, we dispel Call of the Hunt, and he uses his other dice to get Tree Singing twice. Now the forest is actually encroaching on the hill here. It's just fantastic. I love this moving forest. It has no benefit. Here's just another picture of where it ends up after casting it twice. You can see the dragon hiding behind it. It's fantastic. And I guess another view. We were laughing really hard at this point and how far this forest had come. Not only is he holding the objective, he's completely dominating the objective in Wood Elf style. He's like hidden it from us. I absolutely love it. I don't have any good pictures of this, but during shooting, he nets the witches, the remaining witches, and then decides to... well, because he does that, that lets the Corsairs free, so they don't have to take a strength test, and they might be able to charge me. He uses his boom shot on the Corsairs and ends up killing 5 of them, and 3 of them, I think, made their save, but he killed 5 total. So he's weakening them for me, at least. It's Dark Elf turn 4 now. The Corsairs, not netted. They make their charge in the Terrorgeist, joining the combat with the Executioners. The Witches are stuck and can't end up powering through that, so they stay where they are, and his archers reform to shoot. During shooting, he shoots at the dragon up there and ends up... he can't wound, he can't do anything really because you randomize who you're hitting. The dragon's hard to hit, he needs 6s to wound, and then you need basically to kill both sisters on top of them to do anything. So he does a lot of wounds on those sisters throughout the game here, but we just say he does none because he has to get 4 unsaved wounds in total to kill the riders. So it's just kind of a losing battle. He tries, but it never comes through for him. Vampire turn 4. I don't have a good picture of this kind of. There's no movement for me during magic. And, I failed to cast Invocation on 2 die. During shooting, I made a mistake. Well, yeah. So this is how it goes. During shooting, the Terrorgeist fails to wound, and my Lord with Scab's Wrath kills 3 of the new Corsairs in there. And like I said, there's no good pick. In combat, we go to combat round 4. So now this is the combat. This is the combat you can see right in front of us here. We've got 2 separate combats, really, now. We've got the Blood Knights and the remaining BSB, and we've got the Terrorgeist and the Corsairs. I don't know when they break up. I don't think it breaks up until the end of this fight, till 2 separate fights, because we have, like, we're touching, the Terrorgeist is touching the remaining Executioner. But at the end of this, basically, what we're going to have are 2 separate combats going on. He challenges with his Lord. Remember, I don't have a Kesselin anymore. And I can't accept with the other Blood Knights, even though they normally can, because that's like, they're way too far apart, not really in the same combat. So I have to accept with my Lord. So now my Lord is tied up in fighting his unkillable Lord. But the Hag goes first with Always Strike First. She kills 1 Blood Knight, so now it's 1 Blood Knight to her. He has Always Strike First as well on his Lord. Now that's in the challenge with my Lord. I think he puts a wound on me, and I end up doing a shit ton of wounds back to him, but with his 1-up rerollable armor save, none of them get through at all. The other Blood Knight kills the Executioner, which separates the 2 combats now, and his BSB sticks around. So, this is kind of a picture of what it looks like at the end. I grabbed a picture to show. This is a little bit after movement, but you can see how there are 2 separate combats here, the Blood Knight and the BSB versus the Terrorgeist and the Corsairs. Alright, jumping back, the Dryads and the Archers and the Chariot fight. All the Archers get killed, but everyone else sticks. No, I'm sorry, that's not true. The Chariot loses, and even with Inspiring Presence, he rolls an 11 and fails. And so you can see here they've chased. I'm missing an arrow, but you can see that the Dryads couldn't catch him, but they're closer to the Corsairs now. Down here, Black Knights and Ghouls versus the Spear Elves. He challenges with his champion. I accept, because Snooky's dead at this point. I accept my BSB in the Black Knight so that I can at least get in there. My BSB overkills him, I think, by 3, because he's kitted out for combat. It's crazy. I win combat, even with being in the river, but he's steadfast by 1 guy. So if I was able to do 1 more wound, he would not have been steadfast. So this combat's tied up way longer than expected, and I can't really shimmy anyone here to get in very well. So this is just kind of a big tar pit for me. I do not want to be here anymore. Back to this blurry picture for Dark Elf turn 5. There are no charges. His Chariot rallies to face the Dryads again, but can't charge, so it's going to get charged again probably. He has no magic, and his shooting, like I said, he wounds the sisters, but he doesn't do 4 wounds, so nothing happens. And then those were both from the Shades and the Crossbows. It's Vampire turn 5 now. I have no movement. During magic, he dispels. It was a Dark Elf player who dispelled Invocation to Heck for my level 1. However, I have my Lord gets Invocation to Heck off, which brings back. That's the benefit of having like 4 casters at the beginning of the game. I got spells all over the place, and since all the vampires know Invocation to Heck, dispel the first one. That's fine. So basically, 1 Blood Knight comes back. 2 Black Knights come back. Since they're all right next to each other, it's just the lower level version. And the Terrorgeist gets healed the wound by the lore attribute. And I also get a few, I don't remember how many, but it's a good amount of ghouls come back. So during shooting, I scream and liquefy 7 Corsairs. Now, I made a mistake here. I'm tied up in the challenge, so I had to scream at the Lord, but I didn't, and we killed Corsairs instead. I remember that for the next round, but this is basically how it happened. It would have been way better had I remembered, because I would have just liquefied that Lord right away and then freed myself up. But that's what happened. Wood Elf movement in turn 5. The Dryads charge Chariot again. The Tree Man gets awfully close to the Black Knights and gets Speed of Light, but he can't charge. It was too far, so he didn't even try. There's no magic because he doesn't get anything worth talking about, and he's done. He has his trees where he wants them to hide his guy and the objective, so he's done there. During shooting, he nets the witches and then kills 3 Shades with his boom shot, but they don't panic. And you can see I put that little arrow or that triangle again to indicate the netting. Now it's combat for turn 5. The ghouls and the black knights combat with the spear elves. I win combat, kill a bunch. He doesn't have any challenges to remove my guys. Finally, he drops under steadfast, but because the BSB is still there, he flippin' sticks. And I didn't get to choose. I forget how we determined it based on who went first and all that, but I didn't get to choose the combats, so I couldn't kill the BSB first, sadly. But then pretty much right after, now it is my turn, and I do kill the BSB. I've got a newly risen Blood Knight champion. He has to challenge. I just straight up kill her before she even gets to go. Or maybe she gets to go and whiffs, because I think she has always strike first. But yeah, I kill her, no problem there. And so the BSB's finally dead. So had I done those in the reverse order, I would have been able to break the Spear Elves, but not the way it worked. With the Terrorgeist, my Lord, and the Corsairs combat, I score a bunch of wounds on the Lord, still stuck in the challenge, but his 1-up rerollable armor save gets everything but 1. I mean, I probably had 6 or 8 wounds on him, but only 1 gets through. I'm only at strength 5, and that's including the Terrorgeist as well. Only at strength 5, so he really has a 3-up rerollable at this point. I end up losing by 1 because of that. So I think he put a wound on my Lord or the Terrorgeist, I forget at this point. But my BSB's nearby, so I mitigate crumbling. So I don't take any. Over here, Vampire turn 6. Now we're getting right near the end of the game. I declare a charge with my Blood Knights on the crossbows. I was pretty sure at this point he was going to try to flee to save the points. He could stand and shoot, but it was a chance. But he fled. So I let him flee, and I leadership check to redirect into the flank of the Corsairs. Now I'm not going to get to attack because the champion is on that. The Lord is on that corner, stuck in a challenge. But at least I'll have some combat res, unless I end up freeing him up somehow. During Magic, it is 9 dice to 3/3. I cast Melkoth's from the book and put -2 weapon skill on the Corsair group, and he lets that go through. I cast Invocation of Heck from my Vampire Lord, and he fails to dispel it. So 1 Blood Knight comes back, a couple of ghouls, the Terrorgeist gets healed from the lore attribute, and then with my other few dice, the Wood Elf player fails to dispel it, because he doesn't even like seeing this happening. He's going to have to fight me eventually. But he fails to dispel. I get another Blood Knight back, some more ghouls, and with the lore attribute, I heal the Terrorgeist back again. So I think the Terrorgeist is fully healed, and my Lord, I think, is fully healed at this point. So I'm back up to 4 flippin' Blood Knights, baby. I'm very excited. This was very demoralizing for both players. The Wood Elf player was coming over thinking he's cock of the walk, and suddenly I'm almost as strong as when I started, and I have just melted these guys away. Now he's going to get some charges on me, but man, he's both players were whining about how easy it is for my guys to come back at this point, and I can't say I blame them. So this just shows that the 4 Blood Knights came back, and then we go into shooting, and I realize at this point, wait, I'm stuck in a challenge. I have to scream on the Lord. And so Terrorgeist goes first, and he does 5 wounds. No armor save on that, and the Lord turns to liquid. So then I'm not in the challenge anymore. I get to scream on the Corsairs with my Lord, but I don't do any wounds. So I've just killed the Lord at this point, but I'm freed out of the challenge, and now my Blood Knights can attack on the flank because there's no challenge to block them. So I'm very happy. Very happy. Wood Elf turn 6, the Tree Mans and the Dryads get charges into the Black Knights. The Tree Man gets Time Warp, and the Dryads get Speed of Light, so it's really going to hurt here. During Magic, it's 6 dice to 1/1. He casts Call of the Hunt on the Wild Riders, and that's about it. He ends up netting the Shades that are near him, and kills 2 Witches with his big boom shot. Dark Elves turn 6, the remaining 2 Witches, not netted anymore, move into the river so they can grab the objective sitting there. The crossbows who are fleeing from the Blood Knights don't rally, but they end up staying on the board. There's no magic, and none of the shooting matters because he tries to kill the sisters or the dragon. You can't land any. So we go into, let's see. Oh, this is combat in the last turn. So this is what the board looks like going into the fight. What a gigantic cluster of gore here. But here's what it looks like. Now we go in. The Blood Knight champion, he has to challenge. He ends up getting 2 on an overkill on the unit champion, and the Sergoy Ghoul King kills 4. I take no wounds from the remaining Corsairs, who ended up failing their fear test. The Terrorgeist Thunderstomps, and between his attacks and the Thunderstomp, kill all the rest of them to a man. I reform the Terrorgeist, and I overrun with the Blood Knights to try to get in to kill me some Dryads, and end up stopping just a few inches short. So sad. I wanted some sort of joint attack combo here that really wasn't an allied attack, but would have been fun in the flank, and I sadly didn't get it. And because this fight hadn't happened yet, I would have gotten to join in, which would have been really sweet. That's why I picked this order. But in the combat, I couldn't join. The Dryads take a wound, the Chariot takes a wound, and the Chariot holds. Down here, the Black Knights, the Ghouls, the Treemen, and the Dryad combat. Since the Treeman has always strike first, and the Dryads have always strike first, and Speed of Light, they all go first. My Black Knights end up taking, I don't think they take any wounds from the Treeman, but I take 11 wounds from the juiced up attack versions of the Dryads. Actually, the Dryads don't have always strike first, my bad, but they do have an extra attack, I think. I take 11 wounds from them, I pick up all 11 dice and roll them, and I get 11 armor saves. It's only mitigated by 1 at this point up, so my 2 up goes to 3 up. I make all 11 armor saves, and the Wood Elf guy tries to throw the flippin' dice. I mean, he's just so can't freaking believe it. I couldn't either. I thought my guys were just gonna, I mean, if he had landed those, I would have just crumbled that whole unit away for sure. His spears fail their fear check, and my ghouls do 4 wounds to them. Now that I've killed the BSB, he fails his test, and I run him down. Run them down with the ghouls. The Black Knights are stuck in combat, but the ghouls are free now. They run down the spears. Stomp ends up killing one of my Black Knights, and I just turn to reform and face them. So that is the end of the game. I took a picture just to show what it was like. It was funny as hell to have that forest encroach on the middle. Basically, at the end of the game, we each had a sub-objective from the river. All 3 armies did. But the Wood Elves dominated the middle. The Wood Elves lost by far the fewest. In fact, I'm not even sure that they lost any units. I ended up losing not that many. I mean, I lost maybe 500 to 600 from zombie skeletons and my Necromancer and Hexwraiths, but ended up growing almost everyone back. I took the most points by far from killing the Dark Elves so hard, but we gave the, it's a, based on all the objectives and points saved, it's a clear win for the Wood Elves, and it's a moral win for them as well by covering the Temple of Skulls in glorious forest. So it was a really fun game. We had some crazy rules, and there were tons of issues. We were trying to remember how things were played out because, we've never, I don't know, it's never very clear in normal Warhammer, especially having a 1v1v1, it was even worse. So a really fun game, a victory, moral and superior playing victory for the Wood Elves, but a nasty bloodshed between the Dark Elves and the Vampires. Thanks for watching.